Oh, okay. So you've explained how, that we don't have to be there in person for it. And how is family constellation work relevant to your health?
Well, you get to see the hidden dynamic. What Bert, I just was certified with Bert after a 2-year program, but I had been certified for 8 years before that. Bert's almost 84 years old, so I wanted to be certified, get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And the question was again? How
is it relevant to people's health?
Well, what Bert has discovered and what I see in my practice is that when there's an incomplete issue, sometimes the message is communicated through the generations by disease. If you start to take apart the individual dynamics that created a disease or dysfunction is a response to something generational that happened way back that wasn't complete. So by doing a constellation, you're completing the unknown dynamic. We're kind of taking it apart like a Rubik's Cube. So in a constellation, it's like taking a jumbled up Rubik's Cube and putting it together so all the colors are on each side and it's clear. So a constellation gives us the clarity, but it's disengaging the client from the invisible dynamic that was never revealed or never healed in generations back. So we're carrying that as a disease or a multi-generational disease because it's incomplete during those people's lifetimes. And we're sharing the same DNA as them, so we feel it's our mission to complete it. There's also loyalty, which is very strong. If my great-grandmother died of cancer, I will die of cancer. If my great-grandfather had diabetes, then I will have diabetes. So we find even disease has a loyalty pattern to it. But I personally find there's a tipping point. Once the disease is so systemic, there may not be the time to reverse it because we got to it too late, but it still doesn't mean if we unravel all those inner dynamics that they'll have much better health or the disease will lessen substantially. And other aspects might heal in their life as well.
And then the family gets affected as well.
Yeah, and the family gets affected. So what if this person happens to be a parent? Would his son or daughter have to get that affliction or share in that affliction? Because the grief that or whatever dynamic caused it has been healed, so it doesn't have to pass down to your children.
Yeah, yes. So what amazes me is that in the past, all of us on the planet have had horrific things back in the family story, way back, generations back. It's not just like it happens on the movies.
Exactly.
Or in novels.
Exactly.
It's happened to all of us, and sometimes it seems like it's an amazing melodrama that's being carried out when you report back to me.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's what happened in the past, and we can't deny it, and it gives a chance for that healing to happen, so it's not perpetrated or continued all the way through the generations.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, if you start to look at obstacles, so we take a long view on perpetrator-victim energy, or the fact that life always has obstacles in its path. We see the animal world, it's a jungle out there, and it has to fight to survive. So is the life force itself looking for a fight to stay strong and survive? So it makes you wonder of the yin and yang of the life force, does it like conflict to strengthen it? And the conflict helps the wheel of life turn and roll forward with strength. And no matter what happens in people's lives, it seems the life force always moves forward. No Hitler can stop it. No incest can stop it. I mean, someone may lose their life, but still the DNA is passed forward in the next generation. So it really is an unstoppable force, and it seeks strength. That's what we find with the work. All the things we're healing of the past issues of grief or missing children or not grieving the dead, it just gives us a renewed strength to stay alive, because life will throw anything and everything at us.
Yeah, and I like that, and that is such a positive, optimistic way of looking at it. And I always remember, the way you would say, the grass keeps growing no matter what. You can't stomp it out; it will keep coming up.
Yes. And I think one of the biggest metaphors is when I look at a concrete sidewalk and I see a flower growing through concrete, it shows you how powerful life is. Against all odds, on a speck of dirt, in a crease in a sidewalk, you will see a flower grow.
And that is what you're doing with the constellation
Absolutely,
work.
absolutely. Sometimes I look at myself as a gardener. Our family history, there's a lot of dead flowers behind us, and we get to water them to bring them to life so they can share, makes me a little sad, share their beauty. And just know that even though they might have died and withered, there's something beautiful in their message to their current ancestors that are working. And I think there's tremendous healing in honoring those who suffered before. And so there's one way to grieve them, but what we find in American culture is very few people honor their ancestors. When we were speaking before, you had mentioned that in the Chinese culture. Mm-hmm. And if I could say one thing is lacking from American culture, it's lack of honor and disrespect of our ancestors. And that only weakens us in life.
Yes, because we're not honoring our roots.
Exactly.
Yes.
And part of it, I think, is cultural, that we left the old world in search of a new world that was better than the old world, but we didn't, in a way, bow to them and thank them for leaving them and giving us what they gave us. In a way, I feel America as a nation itself has turned its back on Europe, where most of us came from, Africa or Europe or Scandinavian countries, and never looked back. And one thing is that why there's so much drama and trauma in American society today, with violence and drugs and everything else. And what if we can look to our parents, then look to our nation, our national heritage? We find there's tremendous healing in just bringing in a nation in a constellation. Mm-hmm. So if someone's of Italian or Irish heritage who left during the potato famine, or any kind of scenario, when they honor that country, we include countries and constellations many times to bring back the nationalism and the roots of the soil that grew that family. And we have to honor the original garden.
Yes, yes. Well, Gary, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to explain. I know there's a lot more depth to this, but this is the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. It's a wonderful modality, and people don't even have to be present. And I've gotten lots of reports. I've done stuff for people in England, New York, Florida, all over the world, and what I find is things have transformed in their life, even though they weren't present. And even if I just give them a summation of what happened, it shows how energy connects life, and the life force, or chi, is in everything, everywhere at the same time, and we can all access that loop of chi. And when a group of us get together to work on someone to really help them, then everyone is helped. The group, the family, and all of humanity at the same time.
Yes, yes. And I tell my clients, when you're working on their behalf, that your group is there and you guys are angels, and this is a total labor of love that you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank you so much for
my pleasure,
helping so many people.
Yes, it's an honor and pleasure.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.